Hi there and welcome to Wade's Workshop, and this is Shed Talk number 3. Usual thing, gonna natter about all sorts of things that have been going on. I finally finished the collet chuck. Again, a few people have made good suggestions about tool post grinders and what have you. There's a few little Banggood pencil ones and what have you. I haven't got a compressor, I'm working on that, because I think I'm going to start with air tools for that sort of thing. So a little compressor for the shed would be handy for blowing down the lathe and blowing off parts if nothing else. Little compressor. I'm trying to work one of them on a review for a company that I do a bit of work for. So I can have one of those and do a little review on it. And they should be very cheap. So if they are very cheap, I can probably send you all a link to where you can get them from. I think they're like ex-demo, but brand new, damaged, that sort of thing. You know, bits of plastic got chipped and scratches on the tanks, that sort of thing. But they should be going very cheap for a little 2.5 horsepower, 24 litre, 2.5 horsepower compressor with a load of kit. Anyway, another story. As you can see, my lengths of timber are still here. I haven't built my shelf yet, but I have been busy, and I'll show you through some of the things that I've been doing. Bit of organisation. I need to start being a bit more economical on space as I'm filling up and buying more and more pieces and getting more and bigger projects on the go. And space is at an absolute premium when you're working in a shed. Now I've got stuff laid out round the walls. There's toolboxes, you know, there's all these tool chests behind me. I know where everything is, every drawer. I can put my hand on everything. All my lathe tool stuff is over there just out of shot on this black racking you can see, and there's another black racking the other side. Anyway, there's all sorts going on, and I'm trying to get things organised and everything to hand that I use most often, everything put away on low shelves, you know, tucked back that I don't use often. Just trying to get a bit, what do they call it? 5S or 5S. I'm trying to get a 5S system working in my shed. Don't ask me to quote the 5 Chinese words for it. But yeah, I'm trying to set up a 5S system in the shed so that everything is to hand, nothing in the way that I don't want. When I finally get my outdoor decking done, which again is a project for this summer, I will have a huge amount of dry storage underneath it. It won't be very high. It'll probably be about, you know, it won't be able to stand up in it, so it wouldn't make a shed, but it'll make great storage for the stuff I don't use very often, power tools that don't get used very often, that sort of thing. I mean, the place here is full of painting and decorating stuff. Every tool that a house would normally have is in here, plus my engineering workshop. So I want to get everything, paintbrushes, rollers, scrapers, all that sort of stuff, gallons of paint, get it out from here once the new decking is built, and then I will have much more room. Maybe not for machinery, but one way or another. I mean, if all these cases could come off here, I'll have a massive bench area which perhaps one day in the future a milling machine could fit on. Watch this space, but not happening anytime very soon. So I'll take you through what I've been doing, show you a few of the little features, and I do the center drill holders. That's included in this. You'll see my bench grinder, which nobody's seen yet because it's tucked away in a cunning way. It's something I did many moons ago, well, probably many moons, 3-4 months ago. Built a bracket for it so that it can be brought out when needed, that sort of thing, which is what I have to do because I'm working in a narrow environment. I've sorted out a camera rig above the lathe. I'll show you that. I went about making that. Again, recycle from old scrap parts. My vice jaws, I had a few great suggestions on that. I'll go through that as we go along. So anyway, yeah, we'll take you through what I've been doing today. Or not just today, over the last few days. So I've been messing about this week, and I had an old tripod from many moons ago in the loft that was smashed to bits. And I decided that it might make an overhead camera rail or adjustable overhead camera rail for the lathe to stop me walking into the tripod all the time when I'm operating the lathe and trying to show you shots on that. Basically what we've got, I can't put the camera on it to show you because I'm filming it with the camera and I've only got the one. This bolt comes out of here, goes in this side, and it's the M6 that goes in the bottom of the camera, and that's the pin that stops it rotating and what have you. So if you can imagine, my camera screws on here, got a couple of little rubber pads to stop scratching the bottom of the camera on the metal. So the camera sits here. Now, it is adjustable. I had a couple of sliding brackets. There's a couple of cable ties on the top. They are screwed on, but in these little brackets, it's just little self-tappers only in a couple of mil. And belt and braces, you know, if they came loose in the where they self-tapped into the plastic and the camera dropped in a big heap, well, we wouldn't want that. But as you can see, it does slide back and forth. And a couple of little grub screws on the top, plastic grub screws. On the same note, I can adjust the angle here, and I can also adjust the angle here to a degree, and I can come up and down with it as well. So in the plane of the spindle of the lathe, I can come along, up, point up, down, you know, various angles depending on where I want to be. So I can now mount the camera up there, no problems whatsoever, and happy days. But it's cost me nothing. Hacksawed 2 pieces of aluminium off, couple of drilled and tapped holes. This block is screwed through the back of this rod. The block in the top, let's just get that out the way, is screwed up into the plastic blocks with some self-tappers, and I've whacked some cable ties as well on there just because I can, and I was worried about the weight and what have you, and if I sort of knock it, it could easily rip those self-tapper plastic threads out, but that just gives it that extra security. So yeah, pleased with that. It cost me nothing, couple of screws, nuts, bolts, and 4 inches of inch by 3/4 aluminium. So yeah, happy days. So moving on, I asked a question on Shed Talk 2 if anyone had any ideas for soft jaws for my vise that would be, you know, ideal for holding aluminium. Normally one would make soft jaws out of aluminium for holding steel so you don't mark it, but I wanted to hold aluminium, so I wanted soft jaws for my vise. Now I've had lots and lots of suggestions. Let's pull these out of the way. Ranging from making plastic ones by melting down milk cartons, that sort of thing. I'm still experimenting with that, and you can actually make your own plastic, and I've had some success. Just a case of me being impatient and burning it by going too hot. I think that was the answer to that. But various sort of ideas. Gaffer tape lined on the jaws of the vise in various layers, which could be, you know, thrown away, you know, when it gets worn and what have you, ripped off, a new bit put on, cheap, cheerful, reusable, that sort of thing. But what I've finally come up with, and I do like the idea of making your own plastic, I'm going to experiment with that further, shall we say. I have found this UPVC angle, and it was left over from a little building project I did some time ago. I think it was like a trim around bath panels, that sort of stuff. And it's sort of 30mm by 30mm UPVC angle. And as you can see, sits in there nicely. Trim it to length. I've probably got about 2-3 meters of the stuff left over. So yeah, I mean, it works brilliantly for soft jaws, and they're PVC soft jaws. So yeah, that's another little one. Happy with that for now, but I am going to experiment with this melting down the plastic milk bottles, you know, the sort of 4-pint milk bottles, by melting them down in the oven. Cut them into little strips, put them in a suitable tray, you know, something you want to throw away. I was using as my first experiment half a beer can. Cut a beer can in half, washed it out, chopped up a milk bottle, put it in the back, in the oven on an old tray, shall we say, and had a play with that. And it melted down into a solid lump, but I did burn it a little on the top, so I was going a bit hot. I think I was at 220 degrees C, and it did get a bit brown on the top, whereas it, you know, it had melted at 180. I just didn't leave it long enough to melt. So having a play with my new overhead camera mount. I mean, yeah, I mean, you can see it. I can move it around. I can come closer, further away. I can be directly down on it. I think this gives you the best sort of view from this distance. So I bought these soft arbors, blanks, a few weeks ago. I did mention them a few weeks ago, with a thought to make center drill holders directing at the tailstock. Now they're MT2, so I got them into my headstock in an MT3 sleeve, which is a good one. It's a British made one. It's not a foreign, shall we say. I know my head's good. We saw that when I was sorting out my collet chuck. So yeah, I popped it in. I put a clock on this OD of the arbor, and it runs perfect. Not that it's going to be doing anything. I will be drilling and tapping it for a grub screw to hold the center drill in. So let's just see by centre drilling it direct from the tailstock how hard it is, or is it soft? Like the pilot of the centre drill actually fits. I think it's got a long pilot hole up it. Yeah, that's got to the bottom of the pilot hole now. Well, as you can see, I've centre drilled it, gone a little bit beyond to keep the diameter of the centre drill. I'm going to measure up the centre drill, see what diameter that is, maybe go through with a 0.1 smaller, and then just try the centre drill in there. So yeah, seems okay. When I come to drill the depth of this, looking at it as it stands, I want the centre drill to stick out about, let me get you in shot, probably about the full depth of the flute, say maybe on a couple of mil, about that far. So I'll put a rule on it, have a measure, and then I will use a pilot drill, slightly bigger than the pilot on the centre drill, into that depth. And then I know then that I can open up this diameter here, keep winding it back, keep trying the drill in there until the pilot hits that back and it's about the right depth. So yeah. So that's 27 mil deep, and I'm heading for a target of 30 mil. I'm just clearing this drill off as I go along. Now this is 7.8, and I've measured up the centre drill to be just under 8 mil, and I do have an 8 mil reamer that's worn. So that being 27, 3 more turns of my handle. 28, 29, and as you can see it does drill quite nicely. It is tough, but it's not hard, and that's 30 mil. That's it in. I've reamed it, I've countersunk the front, just a little chamfer. And I can feel slight movement, but nothing to speak of. Okay, so the next step is going to be to drill and tap a hole in the top for a grub screw. .2 now for a 6 mil grub screw. As you can see, it does drill quite nicely. Just break through into the bore. Might have to put the reamer back through again if it burrs out. I just said that was a 5.2 drill. It wasn't a 5.2, it was a 5 mil for an M6. So, tap the holes. Make sure we're starting square. Happy days. And it's soft enough to tap as well, but it is very tough. I'm sure you don't want to watch me tapping a hole. Let's move on to grinding a flat. So I put a black marker pen line on the centre drill, drop the grub screw in, and it's marked up the 2 little pops both ways it goes in, and they pretty much are central about. So just using the bench grinder. I don't think the bench grinder's come into play before on my videos. And I've just put a little flat on the centre drill that the grub screw can drop into. When the grub screw's tight, it'll stop the centre drill from spinning within the chuck. Just on a little note, as you can see, my tailstock is here and it's never showed up before, this bench grinder, and it's on the end of my worktop. I mean, my door into the workshop is here, and space is always limited in the workshop. So let me see if I can show you my cunning plan. Might have to zoom out of this a bit. No, can I get a bit further away? Okay, well, you'll get the gist of this. Basically, let me just let that wheel stop, shouldn't be a moment. The bench grinder plugs in. I got a latch here against the wall, which if I lift up this, pull out the latch, the bench grinder goes right under on a hinged plate with a lock bar underneath. That's my bench grinder out of the way. So yeah, I mean, use of space. You know, I'll show you that again. I've got a little hinge lock there. Bench grinder, grab the bottom of this plate, which is on two nice hefty door hinges. Move my lock plate out of the way against the wall of the shed. And that's it, locked in place, ready for use. When I want to put it away, drop it down, up underneath. What's it? Take the plug out, stuff it underneath the bench. Yeah, room is limited, so no room taken. So there we have it. Pair of dedicated centre drill holders for the tailstock. So, you know, if I'm drilling something 8mm or what have you, and I need centre drill and drill, I just swap the chuck over. It saves undoing the chuck, doing up the chuck, that sort of thing. If you're doing a lot of production work, then it's worthwhile. And it's a tool that you've got ready and willing to go all the time, so to speak. Now, I will shorten the grub screws off. I got to cut 6mm off the grub screws. Yeah, I'll have to get the hacksaw out, cut 6mm off, and just skin the ends up nice. So I've been trying to get myself organised and get stuff where I can put my hand straight to it. And I come across these boxes. Now, well-known supermarket, beginning with T and ending in O. I think, oh, don't quote me on this, I think they were £3 each. So all my taps in one place. Now, I know it's not a impressive collection, but yeah, I mean, I've got metric dies, BA, I think it's UNF, BSF, BSP, and quarter up to half-inch Whitworth in that area. But at least I've got them all organised and I can see what I got at a glance. And it doesn't stop there. As these were only £3 a pop, let's grab another one. Oh, all those DIY projects you get where you've got screws left over, full of wood screws, all different lengths, raw plugs, goodness knows what, at £3 each, you know, you can't fault it. And they do stack up on a shelf as well and take up very little room. So what, yeah, I mean, that's two. The plot thickens. I have been organised, digging through the drawers, trying to grab everything. Nuts and bolts, all sorts. I have got boxes of Allen bolts as well, separate, like complete boxes with like 180 and like M5, M6, you know, 200 grub screws, 200 bolts, that sort of thing. All the stuff I use regular. But I don't want to put a whole box in there for the sake of it. And again, final one. Plot thickens again. This one I keep all my, let's see if I can get you a bit closer. You can't see into there. The stack is getting too high. Let's have a look, Yeah, I can't really see it. Anyway, full of lathe tools, all high-speed steel lathe tools, little fly cutters, little high-speed boring bars for screw cutting, that sort of thing. yeah, I mean, all sorts of lathe tools in there other than my carbide stuff. And I do keep my boxes of carbide tips in here. You know, all sorts of boxes of carbide tips that I use on a regular basis. So yeah, I mean, my fly cutter you've seen me use in the past is in here with a piece of tool steel in it. But yeah, it all fits in one place. So pretty much if I want a piece of high-speed steel, come straight to that box and I know it's there. So yeah, I thought I'd share that with you. Well-known British supermarket that begins with T and ends in O. £3 each, I think. They may have been £2. I'm erring on the side of caution and saying £3. But yeah, £3 each. Brilliant little things, and they, what is it? Patrol. P-A-T-R-O-L, Patrol. Made in Poland. Well, I tell you what, made in Poland, that sounds fine. Absolutely fine. Some of the greatest machine tools I've ever worked on and seen have been Polish. Great big Pariba lathes and what have you. So yeah, I mean, they're alright. They're strong enough. I wouldn't want to use them like a tough box and stack up 4 and stand on top of it as a shelf to work off. But yeah, value for money and a good way to organise your bits and bobs. Well, I hope you found all this interesting. I've talked too much as usual, but that's me. You'll never change me. Normally, if you put a bit of alcohol into me, I quieten down a bit, and then I get even more chatty. But anyway, that's another story. Thanks for watching, guys. And if you haven't already, push that subscribe button. And thank you all for all your support. I think we're on 270 subscribers now and 21,000 views over my channel. And I've been going nearly 3 months. So thanks for all the support, guys. It's much, much appreciated. And thanks for all your comments and too. They've been great. And suggestions for various things, great as well. Keep them coming, guys. Thank you.